Try that again. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if my music was playing or not. If it wasn't, I apologize. Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk College. College football. Oh, no, it's college today. It's the Sunday stream of consciousness. To make that quick jump over from talking with Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat, should be Hall of Famer Jim Jeffcoat. I spent a half an hour with them on Sundays, but I welcome everybody into the Sunday stream of consciousness. Lots to talk about today. Welcome everybody watching us on TGI Sports Talk, obviously on Northeast Streaming Sports, Let's Talk Sports, Zodiac TV. We're talking about another affiliation as well, guys. We're getting the word out there, and we're seeing lots and lots of views. Live some days are really good. This is one of our better live shows, and you guys participate and certainly help this show move along, and I appreciate that. And we continue to try to grow it. Lots of we're going to have Jim Biringer join us in a little bit here to talk some college football from yesterday. Somehow Dion wins his first game. The game Colorado probably should not have won, but they played well. We'll get into that. We'll talk about some of the other games. A lot of big blowouts yesterday. Some interesting games. I called the Wyoming-Texas Tech game. Should have bet it. We'll talk everything college football. We'll look a little bit at the Florida State LSU game tonight, the Clemson game tomorrow. We'll get into some Major League Baseball. So we're here in September, and the races are heating up. And we'll also look at the call-ups, the Martian with a home run in his first Major League Baseball at bat. And Wells with a base hit as well. We'll see whether he's going to be the catcher of the future, or whether they move him off that position. We'll get into the NFL, get to take your comments. We'll review our picks, which we just did on Mac and Jack, and we did Friday on the Are You Serious show. And who knows? I've been trying to get into FIBA, the FIBA World Cup for weeks, and we haven't gotten there. We'll see if we do today. And if we don't, we don't, because it's September, and basketball's not at the top of our list. By the way, guys, I want to show you something. Please, all my regulars and no regulars, don't care where you're from. I'm going to post this a couple times. We wanted to do something different. We didn't do a pick'em league. We got a fantasy league that a bunch of you guys got in, but outside of the pick'em, thought we'd do something. Follow the link here, guys. You can see it on TGI Sports Talk, and I'll post it again. You can see it on my personal page. Survivor pool. Very simple. You pick one game a week, only one game. You lose, you're out. You don't play anymore. And you can only pick a team once. And we'll have bragging rights for the King of the Hill. So I've got it posted here a couple times. I'll post it a few more times throughout the show. So please do that. In fact, I'm going to post it again right now, just so you guys got it at the top of your thing. Maybe you don't see the stuff that was up there before you got here. Just in case you don't, there it is again. Let me say some good mornings here before we move in. Kenny Gifford, good morning up there on the mountain. Man, we were having a nice night last night. We got a rainstorm that surprised the hell out of me. The new deck is done. Outside with some college football, the fire, and some beer and cognac. Don't tell my mom. Good morning, Dave Guyette. Good to have you with us today. Rick Sherlock, good morning. Rick's in, where are you in Florida anyway, Rick? I saw it yesterday. I don't remember. Was it Lauderdale? I don't remember. Don't go in the water. Lots of sharks. There's sharks everywhere, man. You know what? And please, I'm not going to get into it. I'll probably get myself in trouble. Alan Perales, good morning, and Boomer Sooner. Alan, all excited about Oklahoma's win yesterday. 73-0 or whatever. What was the final, Alan? Against the Little Sisters of the Poor. Now, it's fine to be excited. I mean, listen. It's a pretty good football team. I picked them to make the playoff, but I'm not going to get too excited about this. But a lot of scores like that yesterday. And we haven't seen these types of scores really in a lot of years, where guys, I can remember 30, 40 years ago, there was a lot of these scores, especially early in the season, where good teams would play really bad teams, and we'd see scores in the 70s. But anyway, more. Anthony Price is with us. So Alan, I know, has jumped into the survived parole. I think there was only 3 people in there so far. Allen, CA might be the other guy I don't know. Kenny, Dave Guyette, Rick Sherlock, all our other regulars, whoever I may not have gotten to yet. Please get in there and have fun. Kenny's in. Okay, maybe he's a third, or maybe do we still have 3? I don't know. I don't have it up anymore. I had it up for a minute, but I took it down. Delray Beach. Love Delray Beach. Used to go down there every year to go to Boston's. Well, not every year. Travel a lot of years with Johnny Dove and Creature. I'll tell you a quick story before we get into sports here today. Delray Beach, on the beach one day out in front of Boston's, fell asleep, passed out in a cabana, just a little clamshells. My feet sticking out. Too much to drink. Laid there for hours. Needs to say the ankles and top of my feet were burned so bad, I could not wear shoes the rest of the week. 73-0. Looked way better. Oh, come on, Alan. I mean, I like this team. I like them to rebound. And believe me, Brett Venables can't afford a game a season like last year. The team had a lot better than 6 and 7 talent, but I'm not getting really excited about any of these teams. Oregon, Ole Miss, whoever else put up a ton of points yesterday. By the way, we talked about a couple big upsets. We're going to get into more of this. You got 4 because of me. Good. All right, cool. Get some more guys in there. 1 pick and you're done. Just go pick a loser. You're done. In week 1, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Some interesting games with all these blowouts. And again, some people talked about, week 1 being lacking some matchups, but I thought there was some interesting ones. We know about Colorado, which we're going to talk to with Jim Biringer when he gets in here this morning. Hopefully he joins us. I don't know what I did with my phone. I guess I left my phone upstairs, so hopefully he isn't texting me with any issue, because we're not going to know. So Colorado and Deion Sanders, Deion's a good coach. Deion, people are anticipating games. People haven't anticipated Colorado games in 30 years. His kid had a hell of a game yesterday. They should not have beaten his TCU team, and TCU may be worse than what we thought, but you cannot take anything away from this Colorado team. Nobody picked them to win this. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. I bet my best bet of the week was TCU. Fortunately, I never hit the send button on the bet. So we split yesterday. I had South Carolina last night and Penn State. Tonight we'll get into the teams that I like. But by the way, another big game, and Alan, to your Big 12 allegiance, you probably have heard a lot of this. A very trendy pick in the Big 12 and in the country, in the national championship race, or the playoff race anyway. Texas Tech has been a big trendy pick for a lot of teams. McGuire's in his second year there. I think he did great things there last year, getting that program straightened out. Big trendy pick. I said on the college football show that Wyoming would have the ball with a chance to win and could very well win this game. And they did in overtime. So that's it for Texas Tech. Not in the conference, but, please stop talking about them as a sleeper for any playoffs. If you're putting 81 on me, you better have your head on a swivel. This is something I totally disagree with, Rick. I'm sorry. At this point in your life, you're a grown man. It's not my job to stop my team. Now, if you're in there scoring 81 and you got your first team in there the whole game, maybe. But even then, not my job to stop me. Your job. And you're going to tell me all their little, and these guys know what they're in for when they go there. I'm trying to see who the hell, let me see if I can switch my filter here. I can't remember who the hell Oklahoma played. Who scored 81 yesterday? It was Oregon, right? So we'll focus on that game for a second. Oregon played, where are you? Portland State, 81-7. By the way, Bo Nix only threw for 287 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a Heisman candidate. They could have used this game to really pad his stats, and they didn't. Number one. So should the second string and the third string kids get in and stop trying to score? Have you stopped trying to score? Has the other team stopped trying to score? I understand the game's over, but the Portland States of the world, I'm looking whoever, by the way, I'm sorry, Northern Arizona, whatever. Some of these teams that are going there for a payday, they know they're getting beat. They went there for the money. And these are grown men. Unless we're talking peewee football, even high school football, I don't really necessarily care for run up the score. You don't do it against the naval or the military academies. Other than that, have at it. Again, it's a topic that always frosts me a little bit. And Rick, you're certainly entitled to your opinion. Playing on the wrong side of that score is not very good. Motivate me to get better, not hurt somebody. Now, if you're calling timeouts, whatever. Texas didn't look that good yesterday. They may get slaughtered in Tuscaloosa, but they win by, I thought they won by, what they do? Let's see, Big 12. So many games, a lot of games yesterday, man. Texas score. By the way, Baylor gets beat yesterday. Texas State. So many teams can win, by the way. Baylor plays Texas State, gets beat by 11. Where is the Texas score? How come I can't find it? Oh, Texas and Rice, 37-10. Quentin Ewers, 263 touchdowns. They didn't run the ball great, which they're going to miss Bijan Robinson. So that's probably a good. Listen, will they get beat? Bama's not Bama. At least not yet. They got to show me some. They got huge problems at quarterback. So is Ohio State, by the way. 20-point win at Indiana yesterday. Quarterback play is not there yet. Not there. And Alabama's got the same kind of problem. Now, Alabama hasn't lost a non-conference game at home since about 2003 or 5, something like that. So it's a crazy number. Teams play for the same caliber or stay home. Well, again, Kenny, they go for the payday. That's the thing. That you don't think that's what keeps these guys in business in a lot of cases? They go get a $500,000 payday. They go get their asses kicked. Blame their coaches, their administrations for scheduling the games if you want, which is kind of what you're saying here, I guess. I mean, I'm not blaming the teams that beat them up. Albany State actually played a good game yesterday. They go to Marshall. And play for the payday. Marshall's on a totally different level than Albany State. Last year they went to Baylor. They go for the money. You know that. October 7, 1916, on that day, Georgia Tech slashed. So we aren't scoring these kind of points anymore. 222-0. Well, that might be a little bit overkill. What did they play? You said Cumberland? What is that? The Cumberland Farms All-Star team? I didn't know Cumbie fielded a team then. Welcome, Billy. Good to have you with us. Go join our Survivor poll, Billy. The link is in the comments and on the TGI Sports Talk page. One pick a week. You lose and you're out. And you can only pick a team once, if I didn't say that before. Once the whole year. Arkansas State. Who was that? Is that the Oklahoma score? Yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah, listen. It is what it is. Dylan Gabriel had a nice game yesterday, though. We'll see. Very important to good morning again, Billy. Very important to Oklahoma's chances this week. Saw Jackson Arnold for a bit yesterday, so he looked good. I think Oklahoma's chances hinge on the defense and Dylan Gabriel. I really think. So I think you saw a lot of guys there. I mean, their top rusher had 49 yards rushing. So, again, they're playing a lot of guys in these games. Disappointing Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't really do anything. Well, good point. That Oklahoma offense was Ohio State offense was not very good. Anthony, 23-3, I think was the final. Against an Indiana State team that is not very good. McCord throws for just 239 and an interception, no touchdowns. Top running back ran for 57. Again, Marvin Harrison. And again, I'm certainly not going to take this on Marvin Harrison. Jr. He's one of the great receivers in the country. He's going to be one of the top, probably be a top 10 draft pick next year. Well, when you got problems at quarterback, you got problems, right? I mean, they're high-rated guys. Egbuka, Harrison. Who's the other guy that's the most highly rated that I can think of? It's not Cade Stover, who led the team in receiving yesterday. So, Alabama's last non-conference loss was at Louisiana Monroe, 21-14 in 2007. I was off a couple years. That's still 15 years ago. Now, I know we'll say, just like we're talking, they don't play a lot of big non-conference games at home. They got one next week, though. When I say big, I mean Power 5 schools coming in there. Billy's in. Awesome. That'll give us to about 5. I'll see what we have here in a little bit. I should have left that up so I could refresh it. Our congratulations in order. For who? I need some clarification, Rick. So you said Ohio State was overrated. Yeah, I still have them in the final. I think their defense will be better. They showed it yesterday, but Indiana's not a very good football team. They only give up 3 points, but still. And let's not talk about, who they played because, Notre Dame, who I do like as well. I don't like them to get to the Final Four. But I do like Notre Dame to be in the conversation for the playoff and maybe even sneak in there. Not one of my picks, but they could easily get in there. They beat Ohio State. They're in great shape. But, a lot of people getting excited off their first 2 wins. And I'm excited for the team. I like Marcus Freeman, but, geez, they haven't played anybody. They haven't given up a touchdown yet either. Ohio State might end up being like Oklahoma from last year if they keep playing like that. Well, if they play like they played yesterday, they will have lots of trouble with the Michigans and the Penn States of the world. The West, by the way, in Big Ten, we had some trouble yesterday. Let me look at some of those scores. If you don't know this, and I talked about it, let me get into this a little bit here. Iowa beats Utah State. Again, not a terrible team, but not a great team. 24-14. They did have a pretty good game out of their quarterback for the first time in a while. They scored 24 points. Her friend's son, whose name is escaping me now, I want to say, I can't remember his son's first name now. But his contract calls, there was a lot of calls for him to get fired last year because their offense has been in the Stone Ages forever compared to what the rest of college football is doing. It says in his contract, if he doesn't average 25 points a game and they win 7 games, which they should win 7 games, and it's not they need to average 25 points a game. He's fired. Plain and simple. Now, if you're only going to score 24 against Oklahoma State, what's going to happen when you get into Big Ten play and you're playing Michigan? Again, I don't know their whole schedule. They play in the weaker West. This is a team you need to score 40 on to make up for the games where you get 7 when you're playing really good teams in the Big Ten. Waldo, congratulations. What's going on, Waldo? Billy Pulver? Did I miss something? I may not have been on Facebook a lot yesterday. William, we'll expect some some answers here. I don't know what we're congratulating you for, and I'd love to certainly be the second to congratulate you. Anthony, I don't know, but you can compare Drake May to Joe Burrow. I don't know, but can you compare? I mean, they're different quarterbacks, right? I mean, Joe Burrow's really a closet pocket passer. He's a classic pocket passer and was in college. He didn't run a little bit, but Drake May runs as well as he throws. He's a running quarterback. People don't realize that. He runs a lot. I believe he led the team in rushing last year at North Carolina. He also throws the ball great, though, so I can compare him to Joe Burrow in that sense. And remember, Joe Burrow had 1 year in college. Drake May's going to have, well, maybe 2. He may be gone after this year. But Joe Burrow really only had 1 year because he wasted a year or two at Ohio State, transferred it to LSU, and didn't play that much. And then obviously had a big senior year. I think it was a senior year when they won the national championship under Ed Orgeron. Congratulations, Orner, because he joined. Hey, well, congratulations, Bill. I got to take a look at the thing. How many we got? We got to push this. Guys, if you know, guys, take that link and share it with your friends for the Survivor Pool. Let's get 40 people in here and have some fun. Otherwise, we'll all be out after 1 week. There won't be anything to look at. It'll certainly be much easier to go through the Survivor Pool picks week every Sunday too, or Sunday from the following week. Alan, Oklahoma State didn't look good either. Had to go through 3 quarterbacks before sticking with Gunnar Gundy, the coach's son. Again, this week 1, remember, they don't play any exhibition games. We talk about how important, I do anyway, training camp is for the NFL. We'll talk about that a little bit coming up. The lack of playing time in preseason games, and that's why we get crappy games in September. Don't forget, these guys have only played against each other basically, all summer. So you have no idea what you're going to get, good or bad. We had a lot of good performances by teams we thought would be good this year. And you're going to get some teams that need to get a little better. The Oklahoma States, as Alan talks about. Again, I think they'll be fine. I picked Oklahoma to win the Big 12, and I'm not changing until they lose 2 games. I didn't think TCU would be as good. A lot of people thought they would be. I did mention in my pick of TCU to beat Colorado handily was the fact that the real starting quarterback they wanted last year was Morris, who played yesterday, and not Max Dugan. And he got hurt in game 1. So, but they lost a lot of other talent too. So again, my point is I'm not getting too excited. I want to see what happens next week. You get these teams into their second game, maybe playing better competition. We'll have a much better handle on who's good and who's not. I mean, I can't say Oklahoma's over the top, even though I like them this year based on yesterday's performances. And I can't say Oklahoma State or Ohio State or maybe even Texas Tech, who I just bashed a little while ago, are not going to be good teams or are going to be good teams based on what I saw yesterday. Comparing players is just a thing people do to make conversation. One player is different from all others and vice versa. No, but there's people with similar playing styles and such. Obviously, there are, especially quarterbacks, there are guys who do things, as much as we don't like Aaron Rodgers, and I do like the Jets to really do well this year, by the way, which we'll get into in the NFL section, but I don't know if we're going to get Jim today. Hope something didn't happen with him or just check my mail because I don't have my phone. He's probably texting me and I don't have my phone with me. So I don't see anything. That's, well, my bad. We'll get Jim on the college football huddle Wednesday night, by the way, just to kind of bring that back. I started talking about Aaron Rodgers. You want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, at least until Patrick Mahomes came along, did things playing quarterback, and whether you love him, hate him, like him, whatever, he does things that other quarterbacks can't do. He makes plays Tom Brady couldn't make in his dreams. Trouble is he likes making those plays and gives up, passes up easy ones sometimes. But think about a guy running to his left and throw. I've seen him throw bullets running to his left. And Patrick Mahomes does a lot of the same thing. Patrick Mahomes just makes up passes as he goes along. Watch Quarterback on Netflix and watch Patrick Mahomes and watch the way he practices and the workout that he goes through to give him the dexterity to make some of the plays that he makes. It's amazing. The stuff doesn't happen by mistake. I mean, you're not wrong, Kenny. Notre Dame third string quarterback looked pretty good, as did the second string guy, but the other's a true freshman. Who the third guy's a true freshman? Speaks well for the future. Your quarterback this year and your chances hinge on Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman is a really, really good college quarterback. And and Kenny, I could be wrong. I got the sense from your hold on, let me get it. Sometimes when I switch my page, I get sound I don't want. There it goes again. Shut up. Where's our Notre Dame box score yesterday? Where the hell are they? What were they ranked? Did they play yesterday? They did play yesterday, right? I don't know why I'm not coming across it. Whatever. Sam Hartman's really good. And I got the impression I was going to say after the Navy game that you didn't, and I could be wrong, Ken. You could have a bad impression that you didn't like, don't like him. Saw some flaws. Not a perfect quarterback. Oh, one Super Bowl. Is that the Billy Pulver? Congratulations, one Super Bowl. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Again, you're mixing up conversations. And by the way, I hate finding myself in a position to have to defend Aaron Rodgers, which I probably will have to do here again today because I've picked the Jets to do very well this year. If you watch the Are You Serious show, or if you watch I was on with Tanner or Nick Botkins and the boys Thursday night. I'm not talking about winning and losing. I'm talking about sheer physical talent. Tom Brady can't make the throws that Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time, without any question in my mind. He can't make the throws Aaron Rodgers can make or Patrick Mahomes can make. He just can't. So I'm not really talking. Yes, he's got one Super Bowl. I hold that against him. There's a lot of reasons, though, and I'm not going to backtrack on my comments about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wanted better teams. He didn't have good enough teams to win Super Bowls, but he wasn't willing to give up the money. So he's not wrong. And the argument that he didn't win more Super Bowls because of the team around him or coaching around him is pertinent, relevant. But Aaron Rodgers is at fault for a lot of that too. Never, always taking his money and not spreading it around until he leaves there to help improve the team. Anthony Price, but we know TCU will be out of the top 25. Definitely. TCU will be out of the top 25 for sure. And they're going to have trouble getting back in. I think maybe it's a better team than we saw yesterday. Again, it's game one and it's the first time these guys are really hitting anybody but their teammates. I But I didn't like what I saw. The 2 turnovers in the red. I mean, they could have easily beaten Colorado yesterday. Quite frankly, they shot themselves in the foot with turnovers right and left. But Colorado was fired up. You say what you want about Dion. And Mac on the show when I was just on with Mac and Jack and Jim. Jim was defending Dion's persona, and Mac doesn't like it. He thinks it's unprofessional. Think what you want. It's different. He does come across a bit thin-skinned, but a lot of this, you got to remember who you're talking about. You're talking about a guy who's 2 different guys. He's Dion and he's Prime. And when Prime's on, you're going to get a lot of bombastic stuff, and you saw it in his post-game press conference yesterday. He's looking to generate interest in a program that has had no interest in 30 years. And, you know, he's a good motivator of players. He's a great X and O guy? No. He's a good football coach. You may not like him, but he's a good football coach. I didn't like the way he looked in England, Ireland, as I think they were, but that's fair enough. It's close enough. But I hold my judgment until they play a good team. Well, you only got to wait a couple of weeks. I don't know who they play next week, Kenny, but on the 23rd, they get Ohio State, and that's when you're going to find out. Again, this is going to be Notre Dame's litmus test early in the season. They beat Ohio State and they beat USC, they very likely are going to end up in the playoff. Good morning to John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities. Please get over there, and if you haven't yet followed John's group, please do so. It's a great page, great stuff. A lot of nostalgic stuff and contemporary stuff, and he allows us to post our show there, and some other good shows are there as well. So please support John and his Sports Authorities group. Great group. And John, welcome. And John, get in the comments or on my page, the TGI Sports Talk page, or my personal page. You will see the link to the TGI Sports Talk Survivor Pool. One more time, guys. You pick 1 game a week, you lose and you're out. And you can only pick a team once. Aaron Rodgers sucks. Can't wait until they break him into pieces. Aaron Rodgers doesn't suck, number one. We don't like him, but he doesn't suck. He's definitely one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. I don't like him. I wanted to be a train wreck over there this year. I don't think that'll be the case, though. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And this hurts. These other quarterbacks do the Brady thing. There is no comparison. I'm not comparing winning. I'm comparing what they can do on the field, things they can do. That's all. And you're right. I was backing up your point, Kenny. All different quarterbacks are different. I can't compare Tom Brady to Aaron Rodgers, except Super Bowl rings, or Patrick Mahomes. They can play a different type of game. It's all about the game they play. That's all I'm talking about. Joe Burrow plays a totally different game than Drake May plays. That's the only point. So, it's still good conversation. I mean, let's compare Sam Hartman to the last 4 quarterbacks you've had to watch at Notre Dame. Is he not different? Is he not better? He certainly is. We'll see how good Colorado is in September 23rd and the 30th. Let's look at Colorado. I want to look at Colorado now, just for the hell of it. I want to look at the schedule. And again, I'm going to base this off of what I saw yesterday. Plus, they're not in the Big 12 yet. Yeah, knucklehead. Let's take a quick look. This is something I would normally do on Wednesday, but we'll do it right now. The Pac-12. Where is Colorado? By the way, Colorado, this would have been a league game next year. So Colorado gets Nebraska and Colorado State the next 2 weeks. Very winnable. Oregon has played very well. Obviously, they've scored 81 points last year. Oregon finds a way to put up stinkers now and again. This game's in Eugene, I think they get beat. Colorado gets beat easily there. And USC following that. I said, and again, I don't know if I said it here. I was talking about it on the Mac and Jack show that, they could be 3-0 easily, but the real season does start for them, as Anthony says, on the 23rd. The Pac-12 is really good this year. Regardless of what the SEC elitists who hate the West Coast, again, what I hate about that is they dislike the college football or the sports. They degrade the sporting programs because of the politics of the state. Please don't do that. That's ridiculous. Whatever. And there's a couple. Again, there's a few guys that do that type of thing, and then that's their prerogative. They can do it. But this is a good football conference, of Pac-12, in its last year of existence, most likely. As we know, Cal and Stanford have moved now, will be moving to the ACC next year. Oregon State and Washington State wanted to rebuild the Pac-12, and they still may try, but they're having conversations with the Mountain West. See, the brand, they own everything. They're not going to be hurting, by the way. They're going to get a big cut of a lot of money that these teams that are leaving don't have, because they're guaranteed X amount of TV money through whatever for basketball, let's say. And they're the only remaining teams. They're going to get paid, most likely. But to me, I would still like to see those two teams try to rebuild the Pac-12. The brand and the logos and all that means something. It's certainly worth more than the Mountain West, and they should take some teams from Mountain West, some teams from the AAC, and try to rebuild it. Interesting, too, came out yesterday that the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, is in conversation with Army to replace SMU, who will also be going to the ACC. Which I think is interesting, because I've advocated all along, and now all I have to do at the AAC is go out and get Air Force. I've advocated to put those three teams in the American Conference forever. Anybody who's watched my shows knows that's what I push for. And by the way, the ACC's problems don't go away just because they added Stanford and Cal. They're going to take a lesser payout for a few years, yes, but the problem they have keeping Florida State and Clemson in this conference, and if they leave, this conference will not be a power conference any longer, I don't think, not in football. It doesn't solve that problem, because now there's just more mouths to feed. They don't want to give everybody an equal share, and that could be a problem. Hitting teammates, as Dove can attest, below the NFL level can often be harder than in a game. I would rather block maulers than our D-line. Great point. Oh, I guess you're pointing out that maybe some of their teams are better than the teams they go out and play. In some cases, that's probably true. In other cases, you're not. I still don't think you're fully prepared to play opposing players. And I'm not. I think you're saying that the Colonials would always be better prepared because your own defense was better than the defense you'd be playing. Or you don't want to hit your teammate. I'm not really sure exactly how to take that, Rick, but either way, I get your point. I get either point. They can't do what Brady did on the field. He didn't need to use gimmicks. Well, again, I don't think they're gimmicks. And believe me, you guys know me. I'm never going to say anybody's better than Brady. Anybody. You can give me any name you want. You can tell me Patrick Mahomes might surpass Brady, and he might. But to me, it's still all about Super Bowls. That doesn't mean there aren't great quarterbacks who don't win Super Bowls. Dan Marino didn't win any. Look out for USC. John, my problem with USC is that defense. What did they do yesterday? I think their defense played better yesterday, but they played Nevada. Where are they here? Blah, 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 blah. They played Nevada 66-14. They win. USC's is low down offense. They're going to score tons of points. We know that, and we'll I will watch out for USC. Yeah, I'm not going to berate them. I just talked up the Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-2, whatever you want to call them. But that defense has got to play better than they played against San Jose State. I see Jim Biringer with us, so we're going to talk college football a little bit longer. And then we'll get into, we'll go to 9:30 or so, a little bit after, then we'll jump into some other stuff. Did you see SMU got nothing for 9 years where other teams got 30% cut? Well, again, SMU's looking for a lifeline. They want a place to go that will be stable. That contract only runs, their contract runs through 2036. So they'll get 3 years. That's what these teams are desperate for, a place to land. That's the problem. If I was Stanford and Cal, I would have stayed with the other two teams and tried to rebuild the Pac-12. Let me get to a couple more questions. I'm going to bring Jim Biringer in. How about the Martian going yard? Yes, that was awesome. We'll get to that too once we get done with college football for sure. It was exciting to see that Friday night. Scoring points in college is the way to win because defense is handcuffed. And look, at every sport these days is every rule change is there to support the defense, and the offense, and we all know that. Good morning to Jim Biringer from Let's Talk Sports, and I'm full press hockey guy. Hello, Jim. How are you?
What's up, Keith? Sunday morning, week 1, college football. It's still not over yet. It's Labor Day weekend. A couple of big games.
Couple good games yet.
Yeah, we got LSU, Florida State, and then Duke Clemson tomorrow. So that'll be good. And then next Sunday, obviously NFL starts, and we're back to the regular. Yo, what up, John? What's going on, buddy? And we're back to the regular Saturday, Thursday, whatever you want. It feels like football's every day. Look, they brought up USC. Let me jump into this real quick. Look, for me, I think Washington is the team.
Not yet, Kenny. Don't rush it here.
Washington, for me, is the team to beat in the Pac-12, in the last year of the Pac-12. Because their defense, to me, is better than USC's. Look, the standard for defense. Look, Utah could still surprise a lot of people and three-peat this thing because they brought pretty much everybody back. Both sides of the ball really good. They beat a bad Florida team. Probably should have beat them last year, but Anthony Richardson just played out of his mind. But it did come down to the final play last year, if everybody remembers. So, look, Pac-12 is wide open, but I agree with you, man. Notre Dame, USC, great. Oklahoma, Oregon, great. You put up numbers against nobodies. Start playing real schools. And to me, that's when I want to see it. Yesterday, okay, Colorado, they made a statement. Look, everybody wants to, all right, TCU's not the same team that was last year, but that's a statement win for a team with a lot of hype around it, and they go in there and win. Look out, man.
There was a couple of games, we talk about week 1 and a lot of, mismatches and blowouts, and that's, through history of college football, that's been the case. My problem is when they do these things in week 11 when Alabama or Georgia goes and plays, Stanford or somebody.
Yeah, exactly. They beat the crap out of somebody in week 11. Who cares?
Yeah, week 1, I'm okay with whatever they do. But there were some good games. You talked about Washington. Before we get away from that for a second, they played Boise State, that
was a great game.
On the rise. It should have been I thought it was going to be a closer game. I almost bet Boise State with 14.5. I'm glad I didn't. Because Washington really, really played well, and Michael Penix is a legitimate Heisman contender this year for sure.
Oh, absolutely, he is 100%.
That's a statement game. You talked about Utah. I think that's a statement game. You win. Again, Florida program's down a little bit, but they did beat you last year to kill your national championship hopes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they played without their starting quarterback and one of their best players on defense, and they still beat this team in week 1. So that's good. Now, I know you want to talk about TCU in Colorado. Very polarizing figure, Dion, man. Guys are picking. I thought, and I'm not a Dion hater. I think he'll do well. If he wins 6 games there, he's done a great job. But I thought they'd get beat yesterday because I thought TCU had lost a little bit, but they had their real starting quarterback from last year back. And for them to win this game yesterday in Dion's FBS 1 debut is just amazing. And look, at Dion's there to put seats in the people in the seats and the eyes on the TV. And he's going to have to win games eventually to do that. And that's started out doing. I thought he'd struggle. Pac-12 is going to be a little different once he gets in there.
100%. It's going to be way different in the Pac-12. Even next week against Nebraska is going to be way different because Nebraska punches you in the face a little bit. I mean, again, I joked with somebody yesterday. They're like, oh, do you think they're going to do it? Well, I mean, if Nebraska has a lead, yeah, they might do it.
Problem in Nebraska is, just to throw that in there, their game the other night against Minnesota, same thing I saw with Scott Frost. The team was getting better, but they don't know how to win games. They don't know how to close out games. They lose games they should not lose.
Right. You're up 10-3 against Minnesota. Granted, Minnesota's a good team, but still, I mean, that's a typical Big Ten game right there. I mean, that was a typical, like, slugfest, ground and pound, whatever, Big Ten football game. But again, exactly what you said. Dion, polarizing figure, comes in there, cleans house, brings everybody pretty much with him. And look, let me tell you something. When we talk about Heisman Trophy, I know it's week 1 and, overreaction Sunday.
You're about to overreact, I have a feeling, Jim.
If we're going to talk about overall player and best college player, if Travis Hunter keeps doing what he does the rest of the season, this kid's going to be in the conversation.
You can say that about his kid, Dion's kid.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Amazing game yesterday, but he's got to keep that up. In fact, he said that. One thing I had a problem with, and I was on the Mac and Jack show this morning too, and Mac had a problem with Dion's press conference after the way, and they're all the same. And I think, there's Dion and there's Prime. And when Prime's on, Prime's whole idea is to be bombastic. He calls out when they don't, he feels he's been slighted. Maybe he needs to have thicker skin. But this is to get attention for Colorado.
Dude, Prime's been the same. Dude, Deion Sanders been the same guy, talks the same way since he was playing football, when he was playing for Florida State, when he went to 49ers, Falcons, Redskins, Cowboys, when he's playing baseball. It's the same guy. It's the same guy who was on TV at NFL Network for years. I don't have a problem with it. I know that's the guy he is. But again, Colorado TCU was fun. If you guys didn't stay up late, Wyoming, Texas Tech was a fun finish.
Called that. If anybody watched the college football huddle, I called this game. I said, I hedged a little bit. I said Wyoming would have the ball with 2 minutes and a chance to win. And don't be surprised if they do win. And
double overtime, go for it. Hey, why not?
Very trendy pick to be a dark horse in the Big 12 and even in the national conversation was Texas Tech. And I just felt they were a bit overhyped.
Little overhyped for me. I wasn't on the Texas Tech train. But Fresno State, big win for them, and Purdue, that was a nice win. At
Purdue, that's a great win for Fresno State. And Baylor with a bad loss yesterday. Not ranked, but that's a bad.
Who they lose to Texas State, right?
Yeah, Texas State. That's a game.
That's Texas State's first win against a Power 5 school since they went to FBS.
Again, a team that got paid $500,000 probably to come there and play, thinking they're it's just a payday. They go there and they win. So that's cool.
Right. It's crazy.
Couple of comments here before we go on. John, I know John is a Canes fan. Cornhuskers were good back in the day. John's almost in my age group.
Look, quite. I'll say this about the Cornhuskers, right? Worst decision they ever made was to leave the Big 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is what I'm saying about realignment, right? I know I'll probably jump on and we could talk more depth into it on Wednesday. Yeah. But here's my issue with it. I think you brought it up and a bunch of other. Do you want to be like Nebraska? Like these schools?
Well, that's one of the questions I brought up last Wednesday and we didn't go great in depth. Maybe you and I will do it. And so think about this question. Who's going to be the next Nebraska through this latest round of realignment? Who's going to become irrelevant because of it? So I've said this before, and I don't want to just talk about realignment because there's a little bit of realignment news newer to talk about. Oklahoma and Texas go to the SEC. They're just another team. The brand is Georgia and Alabama.
And LSU.
Tennessee, I can throw in there. That's the brand. Not Oklahoma and Texas.
No.
So they're no longer the brand. They were the brand in the Big 12.
Like Oregon and USC. Are they going to be the brand in the Big 10 when it's Michigan, Ohio State?
Exactly. And listen, I talked about the latest news and I don't get it. I mean, I understand Cal and Stanford need to find a place to land. The ACC did not fix their issues.
No, they didn't.
Teams in because their issue is keeping Florida State and Clemson, and this is not going to make them happy because now there's just more mouths to feed. I know they're not taking a lot of money out of the gate, but Florida State's already probably gone. They got one foot out the door.
Well, I think this was to open the renegotiation for the TV contract because from what I was reading is if it drops to 15, ESPN and the ACC have the right to reopen the deal.
So keeping the volume at teams, I guess.
Right.
That makes sense. I thought you meant they're not going to renegotiate higher based on bringing Cal and Stanford.
No. But if it reaches a certain level, they're allowed to renegotiate that TV deal.
That's a good catch there because I did not know of that clause. So that's I knew they needed volume, and I wasn't sure that was the.
They said it can't drop below 15 teams. I think 15 is the minimum that allows it to reopen the deal.
So if I've read a lot of stuff the last few weeks that these four teams that were left in the Pac-12, Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State, really wanted to try to rebuild the Pac-12 and use that brand, use that logo because it still holds some weight. And they still got some TV contracts that they're going to collect money off of, by the way, just those two teams now. Yeah, very interesting stuff there. And they still may do it, but they're talking to the Mountain West. That's a big drop from $37 million a year to, $7 TV revenue. So I think they're better off, and some of those Mountain West teams and some of those AAC teams would be smarter to try to keep the Big 12 brand alive, even if it's not going to reach the caliber it is today. But that seems to be the direction to go for me.
I mean, look, I think all the teams that bounced should have just tried to figure out a way to make it work.
Well, what's ironic is all of this, as much as I hate it, and I got to start living in, I wanted to go back to 1995. I've said that a bunch of times, and I can't. Not gonna.
No, I can't do it.
So I got to start living in the future, the present, and in the future. And maybe all of this realignment gets me what I want with my regional regional rivalries back because they just blow it up and there are no more conferences. And it's like the NFL, and we've got, divisions out west, divisions in the Midwest, and divisions the East and the South. Now you got teams playing each other in the same region most of the time.
I mean, I could live with that.
It'll be a ways off, but it's hard. I get the football in the field and I'm happy, I guess, on Saturdays, but
but it's not always about, again, we'll dive into this more another day. But my final thought on this is it's not always just about the people, the football and basketball. It's about everybody else. And I will say this, hockey gets it right because all these other teams, hockey has its own conferences and its own regions and its own everything like that because that's what they do. Yes, this team's in this conference. But the hockey team's got their own deal. So I think they need to start doing that with the other sports because you can't have athletes traveling 3,000 miles. So I'll just end with that. And back to football talk.
Yeah, something's got to happen there. John wishes it was 1975. I want to go back.
That's a little long.
Well, as far as college football, I do, but I don't want to be 15 with the body I got now. Jesus. We miss the old conferences. We all miss that. Big Ten. But, that's one of my biggest problems. We got schools of higher learning. And they don't even know how many teams are in their conference. Please, Big Ten, you got 18 teams.
Big Ten, 18 teams.
You're talking brand. These new schools will bring their fans in time. They won't.
No.
Texas A&M take over the SEC? No. Come on. It's not going to be the same. As long as there's an SEC, it's Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and everybody else. Sorry, it just is. I saw Sanders play at FSU. He's electrifying, tremendous kick returner. And as Jim said, he's the same guy now as he was when he was trash talking on the field.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll be very honest, when he had hired Jackson State, I thought it was just be a clown show. I thought it was just a publicity thing. He probably doesn't. I'm assuming because I don't know if you watched Coach Prime. Series I think on Prime. It was really good behind the scenes. He doesn't fool around with these kids.
No, he doesn't.
His own kid before the championship game last year for being 5 minutes late to a meeting. He's not. He's a good coach. He's a good motivator. Well, he's a great X and O's guy. I'm not really sure. So, we got some dart talk here this morning from CA. CA's at the World Masters or watching the World Masters. We like to get a little dart update from CA this morning. So, tell me, what else did we take away from yesterday? We talked about most of the stuff. I mean, to me, and I said this, I don't put too much stock in teams winning 81-3.
No, neither do I. No.
Or even the good teams that struggle a little bit, like Ohio State struggled. They got some issues at quarterback.
But they always struggle against Indiana.
Yeah.
Especially at Indiana.
Yeah. I think, and again, I got to see. So next week will be a better barometer for me. They've actually had a chance to play against real teams.
Texas and Alabama, the rematch next week, right?
Big game next. Listen, there's some big games coming up. We talked about Ohio State. We talked about Notre Dame. Notre Dame's off to a great start. Hasn't really played great.
They played nobody.
But they still haven't got up a touchdown. That's still something.
Right.
Their season, we talked about it earlier, and we got some Notre Dame fans that follow us, obviously. They beat Ohio State. They're going to be in the playoff talk. That's on the.
There you go. Here's a big game next week. I mean, it's again. I'm only looking a little bit here. I don't have the full schedule. Wisconsin goes to Washington State.
Interesting. Wisconsin didn't really play great. They didn't play bad, but they didn't play great yesterday.
It's a different offense because it's not the same. It's not just, okay, we're just going to run the football. Luke Fickell, it's it's 4 wide receiver set.
It's air raid, typically, yeah.
Yeah, it's different for Wisconsin now. But I like it. Nice win there for them.
What other games? Any other games stand out for you from yesterday?
I was impressed with North Carolina's defense.
I bet South Carolina last night. I was very surprised. I thought this would be a shootout. I was debating whether to bet South Carolina the over, and I would have lost either way. That's actually a very good catch right there. And again, week one, I don't want to put a lot of stock into it. And
yeah, but how many times we come on last year say North Carolina's defense sucks?
Well, every time we talk.
Yeah, every time. How about give some love? Let's give some love to the Green Wave. How about this? Tulane ranked first time. Nice win over South Alabama. They beat USC last year in the Cotton Bowl. Tulane.
Like Tulane. I think that AAC race and Texas San Antonio lost yesterday, a close game to Houston. That's a good Houston team.
That was a good team. Good game.
I thought Texas San Antonio might have won that game. I think it'll be a nice race between them and Tulane in the AAC myself. I really like Traylor, the coach there at Texas San Antonio.
Yeah, so I mean,
well, let's look at tonight's game since we got you with us. But before we get to college football, let's look at tonight's game because there are a couple of good games coming up tonight. If I can freaking find them,
I believe what is it?
Friday. Jesus, there's a lot of games this week. Holy moly! By the way, Albany State, we'll give them a little shout out before I go. They went and played a very good game at Marshall yesterday. So congrats to them. They didn't win, but they played well. Today we got Northwestern at Rutgers, not a big game at noon. Look, Rutgers isn't going to, or I'm sorry, Northwestern may not win a game this year.
No, I got people going to that game, so.
I'm a little intrigued. Oregon State, who was very close to making the Pac-12 championship game last year.
They got a tough game, San Jose State.
I like San Jose State with the points. It's about 16 or 17 points at home. San Jose State moved the ball last week against USC, which, again, that's not necessarily.
Not difficult. USC's defense is.
Right. I think they can possibly give them a game today. But the big one is LSU at Florida State. Not at Florida State. They're the home team technically, but it's being played in Orlando. I like Florida State here. I really do. I think this is Florida State's year to really rebound. I think they beat Clemson twice to win the ACC and get in the playoff. That's been my prediction all summer.
I'll say this with all these teams: Texas, Miami, Florida State. They're not back until they do something and win. Look, Florida State's got a great team, Jordan Travis. But year 2, Brian Kelly, we see it every time. Where he's at, team improves. Well, LSU lost by a point last year.
Yeah, they should have won that game. They missed.
They should have won that game.
Point and a field goal, I think, both that would have had great.
LSU's supposed to be a player in the SEC this year.
They won the West or the whichever. North, what do they go? East and West, South and South.
No, it doesn't matter. Whatever it was, they beat Alabama and they won the West.
They made it to the championship game last year in year one. They're ahead of where they should have been. It's a good football team. Their quarterback came back. Jaden Daniels came back for when he was talking about leaving. But I got this feeling that Mike Norvell's team, they started to make a turn last year. I'm not saying they're back. I agree with you. You got to win. But my prediction is that they will do winning, and they will be back in the national picture. I'm going to pick Florida State tonight. You want to make a pick?
I'm going the other side. I like LSU.
Yeah. How about tomorrow night? Tomorrow night, I think this will be a much closer game than people think. It's about 13.5. I like Duke. I love Mike Elko. For me, I'll take Duke in the points. I just think Clemson figures out a way to get it done. Clemson wins the game. I agree 100%. A lot of changes in Clemson with Lincoln Riley's brother coming in there to run the offense. Yeah, I always say this guy's name wrong. Say it for me.
Kluber? No.
Kubler. What the hell's his name? I do this every.
The quarterback?
Yes, Cade Kubler. Kublik.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, he's the guy taking over. By the way, we didn't mention at the Oregon State game, DJ, Ukulele is playing up there in Oregon State.
Oh, Cade Klubnik.
Klubnik, thank you. Jeez, I don't know why I have so much hard time with that name. He's taking over a quarterback. So new look offense for Clemson. They've had some offensive issues the last couple of years. I like Duke because I think they'll win 9 games again this year, Duke myself, and maybe even push Clemson or Florida State for that spot in the championship game, possibly.
Yeah.
I think doing away with the divisions in the ACC was a smart move, actually.
Well, whatchamacallit did that. The Big 12 did that.
Big 12 and the SEC is going to, I believe, as well next year, I believe. So,
look, Duke surprised a lot of people last year, 9 wins. We'll see if they equal that this year. It's going to be a tough start. But they return a lot of players. Second year. Again, I think they keep it close, but I think Clemson wins.
Before I let you go, we'll take a couple of these comments and get them out of the way. No vision. Texas is football country, as is Oklahoma. You use Texas. They haven't done it. I mean, look at
they haven't won a national championship since 2006.
Right? I mean, they haven't even been in play for a championship since 2006. And again, they're going to a much tougher conference. And by the way, they've got talent year after year.
And they haven't won their own conference in how long?
Yeah. I do like Oklahoma this year. I picked them to win the Big 12 on the way out the door. Sanders and Hester were great kick returners, but Billy White Shoes is best of all time. I agree with that comment.
No, I actually like that take. That's a great take.
I love watching Billy White Shoes. Our opinion is, listen, I've been trying to give Spencer Rattler the benefit of the doubt for a long time at South Carolina. He didn't play well last year early. He played much better later in the season. This is a kid who had a ton of talent, and he's got like a 2-cent head. I go back, there was a mini series that Netflix used to run called QB1, and they followed these high school quarterbacks who had already really committed through their senior in high school. He was on, I think, the last season. He got kicked off his high school team before he ever graduated. And he was a problem then. He was a problem at Oklahoma, excuse me. I thought he'd straighten out his act here at South Carolina, and he just has not stepped up to where I thought. Point. And a big game last night, you saw it. He did not play that well last night.
No, he did not.
Rutgers is another joke being a Big Ten.
Dude, all right.
They should go to the American right now.
They should have never left the American. A. B, they did it for money to stay relevant. But let football aside, their other sports are really good.
True, but those other sports also are going to have to travel across the country to play their conference schedules, which
exactly
it's a lot different going to Michigan than it is going to L.A.
Yeah.
Rutgers gets hurt in this whole thing. John likes FSU as well. Make sure you give NFL picks. All right, we'll do that real quick, actually. Since we've got Jim with us, we'll transition to the NFL.
All right, I got like a couple minutes.
All right, let me just don't want to see any more Duke's quarterbacks in East Rutherford. Not a big Daniel Jones fan. I think Daniel Jones.
He ain't the only one.
So anyway, let's talk NFL. Give me your picks for division winners in the AFC.
Bills.
Who?
Bills, AFC East.
Okay.
Cincinnati, North. With the caveat that the Steelers make the playoffs. Jacksonville in the South. Kansas City out West, obviously.
Out West. Still trying to find my. Is it? Yes. All right. Wild card.
All right. What do I need? 3 wild cards?
3 wild cards. I think you said the Steelers were one.
Steelers, Jets. I think the Chargers find a way. No, wait. Wait a minute. No, Baltimore. Put Baltimore in there.
I'll give you mine real quick, just so you know, guys. We'll talk more about my picks after we let Jim go. We got Jets, Steelers winning the division, Jacksonville, the Chiefs. My wild cards are the Patriots.
Yeah, Homer pick.
10 wins. I'm telling you.
Homer pick.
Listen. Nobody's harder on my team. If I thought they wouldn't make it, I would tell you.
I know, but that's still
Bengals, Chargers, and I have got the Jets winning the conference, going to the Super Bowl. Much as it hurts me, I have the Jets getting to the Super Bowl.
I got Kansas City going back.
Kansas City, safe pick.
Well, I mean, until somebody beats them at home.
I don't disagree. You're the champions till you're not. So I don't. That's not a bad pick. Give us the NFC real quick.
Eagles, Minnesota. I'm trying to find the rest. I'm trying to think. San Francisco. And who am I? Dealer's choice out of the fucking South, right? Sorry, I just said that for it on the show. My bad.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, that's my fault. Dealers, what man? I have no. I guess New Orleans. I guess.
Wild cards.
Dallas. Detroit. And the Giants get back in.
Who wins the conference?
I don't buy the Detroit conference championship talk, so no, thank you on Detroit.
I don't buy any Detroit talk.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I'm not. I mean, rematch. That's like easy. You know what I could have done? I think San Fran gets back. I like their team.
All right. Who's going to win that game? Chiefs? Back-to-back?
Haven't seen it since Patriots.
Could do it.
My
NFC picks, Eagles, Bears.
I should have put, who I should have put in? Scratch Detroit. I'm putting Green Bay in.
Okay, interesting. Bears, Bucks, Seahawks. I did just pull one out of a hat for the Bucks.
Yeah.
And I have the Giants, the 49ers, and the Vikings in the playoffs. I have the Seattle Seahawks going to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl over the New York Jets in some very very ugly green colors.
Yeah.
Or whatever color mix the Seahawks decide to wear that day. I love the Seahawks this year in the NFC. They got
that's going to be a tough division. Those two teams are going to be they're going to be battling for the West title.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks. If Geno Smith is the Geno Smith we saw last year, this team will win it all. If he's not, they don't.
I'll say this. Look, the North is going to be fun because Fields. We don't know what Detroit is. But we saw what they are last year. Can they continue it? Jordan Love is a lot better than people we're giving him credit for. He's developed the right way. And I'm going to tell you this right now, and everybody can laugh in my face. I don't really care. all the rookie quarterbacks are going to struggle that are starting this year.
It's possible, I think.
Because none of them are ready.
Anthony Richardson will be the worst. And I still say Anthony Richardson will be a bust.
I agree.
But the other kids, I think, eventually will play okay.
Right.
All right, Jim, I know you got to run. Thanks for joining us today. I'll give you an invite for Wednesday, and we'll talk more in depth in college football and the upcoming week.
Absolutely. Week 1 will be in the books, and I figured I'd jump on. There's not a lot to talk about hockey right now, so I figured why not just talk some football on a Sunday.
If you got some hockey to bring up sometime when we have you on, don't hesitate to reach out to me and say, I need to talk some hockey. So we'll do that.
We'll get that. We'll do that before the season starts.
Yeah, Kenny might be having ice up there in a mountain already. That's why he's asking, probably. So
yeah, it's all right. I'll go play outside.
I'll talk to you later. Have a great week.
All right, later.
See
You
later.
too.
Bye-bye.
Happy Labor Day, everybody. Bye.
The great Jim Biringer, we love having in for Jim's well-rounded in sports. He's our hockey guy, but we bring him in for college football and definitely some other stuff. I'll get to some other comments here. So I gave you my NFL picks. You guys can feel free to put your picks up, and we'll start looking at them, and I'll go into mine a little bit more in depth maybe as we talk more football. We'll get to Major League Baseball in a little bit. If Drew's here and sitting back, I apologize. I know I do Major League Baseball up front a lot of times, but college football now is at the forefront for me, and the NFL will be as well. But it does not mean we will not talk to Major League Baseball here in a little bit. So we made sure that we got Jim's picks. I put him on the spot, obviously, as he was not prepared for that. So John doesn't want to see. We talked about that. Thought I missed more. Texas or Oklahoma win the SEC in less than 4 years. I'm going to write that down, Kenny. Don't forget, they will not win the SEC in less than 4 years. I don't think. I could be wrong. But here's my point. My point isn't necessarily they won't win. My point is they're not the big dogs in the conference, name-wise, brand-wise. Yeah, if they win a few national championships, that might change. But look at, I'm trying to think of a better example than I've given. Listen, the Big 12, they were the brand in the Big 12. Texas was the brand in the Southwest Conference. That's why the conference folded when Texas and Texas A&M left. They're going to be on the same level brand-wise in the SEC because, again, the brands are still tied to the conferences that they came from. Nebraska was a great brand. Went to Big Ten and they became irrelevant immediately. Now the brand might have been dissipating a little bit even before they left the Big 12. But when you're associated with a historic conference for that many years, going to another historic conference that has real brand leaders, that's all I'm talking about. Doesn't mean they won't win. I mean, Texas got two great quarterbacks. They could very well win if they. By the way, Steve Scarsazian may never coach a game in the SEC because this team's loaded with talent and has been for the last couple years, and he's won nothing. But now Bears are not out of my ass. Sorry, that division's up for grabs. The Vikings are not as good without Dalvin Cook. They just aren't. They do have a great coach. I'll give them that. I've got new respect for Kirk Cousins, as I've said, at least as a person, maybe not as a quarterback. What he goes through as a quarterback, I have higher respect for. But the Bears are ready to step up. They've improved the players around Justin Fields a lot. They've improved their defense. If Justin Fields takes the next step, if he doesn't, then they lose. I get it. Justin Fields played some pretty good football at times last year. He needs to be more accurate. He's a dual threat. Dual threats don't always win, but they win divisions. They don't win championships. But I like that Bears pick a lot. I still like your Vikings. I think your Vikings will battle. I think your Vikings will make the playoffs, so they'll have a chance. And in the East, I know we all hate Aaron Rodgers. I don't like picking Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him. But when I look at the Jets, when I look at the Jets, I see a team that is either going to be great or it's going to be the San Diego Padres of the NFL. And again, I know the cameras are all on. Everybody wants to get on Aaron. I get on Aaron Rodgers for lots of things, mostly being selfish and not giving up money to make his team better and then complaining when the team isn't better. I did complain about his play during the NFC Championship game a few years ago when he could have run the ball in and he didn't, because sometimes he's looking to make the hard play. And a little bit to Kenny's point, I guess before we were comparing quarterbacks, Tom Brady takes what's given to him. Aaron Rodgers is often looking to make a spectacular play instead of what's given to him. But he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. This team was lacking a quarterback. That's it. They are loaded at wide receiver. They're loaded in the backfield. And when Breece Hall gets healthy, they're going to be even better. Their defense was already championship worthy last year, and you've got some guys that are young, like Sauce Gardner, that are going to have extra experience. The only team that can beat this team, in my mind, is themselves. Similar to the Padres, and this is exactly what I said about the Padres in the preseason this year, and maybe the same thing will bite me in the ass here. But we can hate Aaron Rodgers, but listen, to make picks just because you don't like guys, don't do that. You can do that. You do whatever you want. And one of us is going to be right at the end of the day. And given my track record, it won't be me. But I think Buffalo State takes a step back this year. I think they'll still be good. I think this is the best division in football. It's possible all these teams finish over 500. And I've said all of them could finish first. All of them could finish last. Oh, I'm getting some hesitation in my thing. I don't know why. But I think the Dolphins finish last because I don't think Tua can make it through the whole year. I'm not a big fan of the coach who looks like, he just got a lot more lunch money to steal now than he had when he was actually in high school. And I think the Patriots are going to win 10 games. You could laugh. The one prediction, and again, people who think, and again, I called Jim out a little bit for calling a homer pick. You can call it a homer pick, me picking the Patriots to make the playoffs. You tell me that this team will be so much better than people think. Mac Jones will be so much better with a real offense coordinator. The offense is already clicking. The only thing that beats this team is the offensive line. And if their 5 starters can actually play together for a good part of the season, they'll be fine. It's not a great offensive line, but it's not the worst either when they're playing together. That's rare because one of them's always hurt. 2 of them's always hurt. We won't have Isaiah Wynn getting holding penalties and big plays right and left. This team went 8-9 last year, guys. And they blew games in Chicago at home. They should have never lost. For those of you who think Bailey Zappi is so good, they could have beat Cincinnati as they're driving for the game-winning touchdown when they turned the ball over. They had that stupid play against the Raiders. You're not going to see that type of plays happen again this year. The coaching staff is not going to stand for it. Well, this is my point, Rick. I'm saying he'll be a dual threat this year. His passing game, his passing game is not going to catch up to his running game completely. He will make steps forward. And maybe I just want this to be so Kenny can't say anymore that Ohio State quarterbacks stink, which is probably the next comment that's coming up here. Until Saban got to Alabama, they sucked for years. I said that. He's the best but they were still a brand. They go back, 70 years almost, 60 years. They had some bad years. By the way, they didn't suck for years because they won a national championship with Gene Stallings there. They sucked under Shula. They sucked under Perkins. They sucked under a lot of guys, but they had to replace, at that time, the best college coach in the history of the game, Bear Bryant. And now they got the best college football coach ever again, who's past Bear Bryant in my mind. Georgia was still the brand. Again, it doesn't matter necessarily the play on the field. The brand is who the teams are. I mean, think about the Pac-12. The Pac-12's brand is gone. I mean, I'd like to see them try to rebuild the league, but two of the founding members are gone. Two of the founding members. Most of the founding members. And the same applies, by the way, to USC and UCLA. USC can win 10 national championships. They're never going to be the face of the Big Ten. I use the ACC, or I use the SEC just as one example. But the argument still applies to, say, USC. They're never going to be the brand. They were the brand out west. They were the brand of the entire face of West Coast football was USC. And it doesn't matter that you have some down years. If historically you're really good through the most of 100 years, the majority of 100 years, then you're a big brand. I'll use the team that I root for, mostly because of family, but they're Miami Hurricanes. Miami Hurricanes are not, they've got a bunch of national championships. They're not a historically great college football brand. They had 20 years of success, basically from 1982 to 2000-ish, 2002, 20 years. They've been irrelevant pretty much every year since. Are they a historically great college football program? No, they did it over an 18, 20-year period. They're not. They're the same for Florida State. Now, Oklahoma has had sustained history, but not in the SEC. Texas was only gotten really good well, they had some good teams. But Darrell Royal really brought Texas into the forefront in the 60s and 70s. You don't just walk into a conference, win the conference, and then all of a sudden you're the face of the conference. It'll be Alabama. Because guess what? Even when Alabama had those horrible years, they were the face of the conference. People still tuned in to watch. Notre Dame. Your team's a great example, Kenny. They're better off staying independent because that's their identity. That's their brand. And to your point about when Alabama sucked for a few years, Notre Dame sucked for a few years as well. Did not lose any of their popularity. They weren't very good when they got to sign a standalone TV contract with NBC. I mean, they were okay. I shouldn't say they were terrible. They started to hit their terrible years soon after that contract gets signed. But it doesn't make them less of a national brand. We just talked about this. People think because Notre Dame hasn't won a championship in 40 years, 30, I want to say it's 35 years, whatever. Doesn't mean they're any less powerful or their brand is weakened. Their brand is not weakened. If you've got a strong brand, it doesn't weaken when you have some downward turn for a period of time. It stays down, sure. But these programs all bounce back. So with that thought, Texas is still a brand in the South. Yes, in the South. Assuming the fans continue to follow them as loyally as they did. And by the way, they're going to have much harder time traveling to games when they can't just go to Iowa City, Stillwater, Oklahoma. You know, now they got to travel to Gainesville. Now they got to travel to how far west can they go? Yes, they had to go to West Virginia, but now you're going to play half your games on the southeast coast, basically. Are fans going to travel as much? The diehard ones will. But you can't argue, and this is the case throughout college football. It's not just these two teams. Their brand is still good. I'm not saying their brand is no good. I'm saying they will not be the face of the conference. That's what I'm saying. They'll never be the face of the conference. There's too much history in the conference for somebody to come in there and in 5 or 10 years, they're the face of the conference. Won't happen. I can't think of a place that it's happened. Florida State went into the ACC. Were they ever the face of the conference? I don't think so. Even when they were winning the football conference for years, they weren't the face of the ACC. The Tobacco Road teams were. Clemson, North Carolina, even their football team stinks. And basketball still counts, by the way. So, again, it's a compelling argument. I think Arch might have moved up to second. I'm not positive about that, Bill, but it's not surprising. We were not expecting Arch Manning to come in and play this year unless Cam Ewers had transferred out. One of those kids, well, either Cam Ewers is going to go to the NFL, or he's going to transfer, or Arch Manning is going to transfer after this year. Those two kids are not going to stay at Texas next year. And again, to the conversation, call it an argument if you want, I'm having with Kenny, and that brand with Texas, with Arch Manning coming into the SEC, is going to be much more compelling to the casual fan than without. Arch Manning and the Mannings have a great history in the SEC. So that helps beat my argument a little bit that Texas might have a leg up building their brand when they've got a guy whose uncles and his father, to a lesser extent, helped build this conference brand through the years. Notre Dame played 1 year in the ACC only because of COVID and they couldn't schedule. Yes. They weren't the face of the league. No, Clemson is the face of the ACC. I said that. I said the Tobacco Road teams, Clemson, North Carolina, Duke, not football necessarily. But Clemson's the face of that conference. They were the face, and Notre Dame came there and played 1 year. They were not the face of the conference. They came there crawling and begged. Listen, I like Notre Dame myself a lot. I think the game of college football is really good when Notre Dame's good. I always root for them to be good because it's better for the game. But let's face it, Notre Dame came crawling to the ACC that year because they couldn't schedule. They would not have had a season during COVID if the ACC didn't let them play a full schedule instead of the 4 or 5 games they schedule every year. So that it was an aberration. And by the way, the ACC screwed up big time. They should have let them in and should have kept their foot on their throat and said, we'll let you in, but you're not in for this year. You're in for the long haul. But teams are doing what they had to do during COVID to keep the programs solid. So why would first of all, they only play, they don't still play in the ACC. They can't be the face of the ACC. And if Notre Dame went and played in the ACC forever, which they have an agreement to do, by the way, if they ever join a conference, which they're not. Notre Dame played there 1 year. They're not the face of the conference. If they went there and still won 5 conference championships in a row, they wouldn't be the face of the conference. It'd still be Clemson until Clemson jumps to the SEC or wherever. Notre Dame go to the Big Ten. They're not going to be the face of the Big Ten. They're more associated with the Big Ten to me than they are with others because of where they are regionally, who they play, who they have played a lot with over the years. Michigan a lot. Michigan State a lot, Ohio State a lot, Purdue every year. No, Notre Dame was seriously, you really think Notre Dame was a face of the ACC? 9 times a casual fan would never even know they played in the ACC that year. Never. They had a good team. We can't get off college football today. Saban brought back LSU, then the Tide. Don't forget Michigan State before that. Saban brought back LSU, then the Tide, mixed in the Gators, and the SEC was relevant even when Miami and FSU. I agreed. SEC was as always. Well, I shouldn't say always. I would say since the early 70s, maybe in the late 60s, the SEC, it was a Big Ten, and even the Pac-12, I think, were more relevant than the SEC up until the late 60s into the 70s. So I think they were more relevant even before that. But to your point, Saban did bring back LSU when they were down. They did bring back the Tide when they were down. Florida was really good. Watch Gator Kings, by the way, on Netflix. Great documentary about the Urban Meyer Florida Gators. My only problem was that they stayed away from the bad side. They talked about it. They touched on the issues that they had when people run wild, but you see about 10 seconds of Aaron Hernandez in the whole thing. People or Jack? Huh? Notre Dame. Not sure what that's about. Oh, Jack not thinking Notre Dame is relevant? No, I have heard it. I get it now. Yes, Jack did. We think Jack said that. I don't remember for a fact. But listen, if you read enough articles around, and then I read the comments. So I like The Athletic. I read The Athletic a lot, although it's gotten bad since New York Times bought it and laid off half their best writers. But you read the articles about that Notre Dame are a part of, and the comments in there, we know Notre Dame's a polarizing brand. I'll use the word again. You either love them or you hate them. Or you're like me. You want them to be good because the game's better with them. But there's tons of negative comments about Notre Dame's not relevant anymore. Notre Dame hasn't been relevant in 30 years in college football. Notre Dame this, Notre Dame that. Notre Dame's got to join a conference. Notre Dame, no. Well, I didn't say they begged. They had to. They did have to beg that year, Kenny, or there would have been no football. They had to ask to join as a full member for 1 year so they could play football that year. Otherwise, they would have had about 4 games on the schedule. The Pac-12 wasn't playing. They ended up playing 4 games or something. The Big Ten wasn't playing. They ended up playing a very short schedule. And as it turned out, maybe they could have filled their schedule out because conferences that weren't going to play did play. But it's a fact. It's a fact. Maybe begs the wrong word. But the ACC had to agree to let them be a 1-year member. That's all I'm saying. If I use the wrong terminology, I apologize. But, you're right. Listen, I'm not saying Notre Dame is weak and needs to beg. That year they needed help and they asked for it. That's all I'm saying. ACC needs a facelift, so they asked them. No, that's not what happened. That is not what happened at all, Kenny. That's not even close to what happened. It was COVID. Half the leagues weren't going to play a season. So Notre Dame didn't have any games on their schedule that they could count on. They went to the ACC and said, let us play a full schedule. That's why ACC, you don't do a facelift for 1 year and then let your face fall off again. If the ACC had gone to them, it would have been for a full membership. And believe me, they asked the ACC to schedule them teams every single year. This is a mutual thing. The ACC didn't go begging Notre Dame to play 4 games, 5 games, whatever it is now. But it is a fact. And I'll go find an article if you want from 2020, if I can find one. Notre Dame wasn't going to have a team. They weren't going to be able to have a schedule. I'm not making this shit up. Man, I defend Notre Dame more than anybody, but I'm going to report the facts the way I see them. Had nothing to do with a facelift. It had to do with COVID. End of story. Week 1 went as expected for most games. Lots of blowouts. I don't think it went as expected, by the way. TCU was expected to blow out Colorado. Texas Tech, as I've talked about, Carlos, I'm not going to get into this. We're going to move to some baseball here in a little bit. And then the NFL news we might have going on. I've talked about college football for longer than I should, but I got a show for it on Wednesday. Baylor gets beat by Texas State. Everybody's, not everybody, a lot of people's trendy pick of Texas Tech in the Big 12 goes down to Wyoming, which I called, if you remember. Also blew my Colorado pick. So Oklahoma or Ohio State didn't look great. Boise didn't give Washington the battle they thought they'd have. So there was some interesting games, but most of the games went to, but as expected, because many of them were very lopsided. I got a rant here, by the way. Oregon and big deal. These games are irrelevant to me. I said this earlier. Again, I'm not getting, and again, I picked Oklahoma to get to the Final Four. I'm not getting too excited or too disappointed in teams based off of 1 week. Now, some teams may springboard off this. Colorado could springboard off this and have a really good year, but they're going to struggle in the Pac-10. Wyoming, these are springboard games for some people, but Oklahoma and Oregon, you don't springboard off beating the Little Sisters of the Poor by 70 or 80 points. Well, I don't have a problem with those scores, as I said. That's not a springboard game. I do have a comment, by the way. Not boiling. I told Drew one day when we talked about this, I said, my shows, especially this show, I'm trying to build up my tolerance. I like my blood pressure to get built up as far as I can, as close as I can to having a stroke. That way I become much more, I have more tolerance against possibly stroking out at some point. I kid. Syracuse did score. Again, it's not a big deal either. Syracuse played Colgate. Colgate hasn't had a good team since Ed Marinaro went there and finished 3rd in the Heisman. I do have a gripe. Carlos, I saw some text. Sorry, Carlos, I couldn't get back to you. I was busy with some things going on here. But anybody who has Spectrum, and I think, Rick, you and I talked that might have been on a post, or maybe not. I was on a post with some other people on Facebook talking about this yesterday. Spectrum now is in a dispute with Disney. So I'm not sure why ABC we're getting, but we're getting no ABC, no ESPN, no ESPN2, no ESPN3, no ESPNU, no SEC network, no ACC network, no Pac-12 network. All the games on those networks you can't watch right now if you have Spectrum or Charter. Can't watch them. So great timing. Pull those games the first week of college football. This better be fixed by week 2, or I'll be off Spectrum and back on DirecTV streaming by Friday. And by the way, here's why I'm doubly mad. So I could watch the CBS games yesterday. There was a few other places I could find some games, but coming up, a lot of these games are going to be, I want to watch, are going to be on ABC, ESPN. I'm not sure why ABC's left out of this, but because they're all owned by the same company. Here's why I'm doubly mad. I get it. TV providers like Spectrum and DirecTV, I don't even know if they got Fox back yet. Kenny, you can tell me they got Fox. I got rid of it when I moved, so I don't know. But that dispute was going on for nearly a year. We didn't have Fox. I get TV providers have disputes. The channels want to raise the price, which they don't want to pass it on to people who don't want to watch those channels because they're not going to eat the increase. They're going to pass it along to us. I'm okay with that. People who don't watch sports aren't, or whatever the programming might be. My real problem is the fact that I also pay for ESPN Plus, $6.99 a month, which allows me to put an app on my phone, on my computer, and watch everything on ESPN. I couldn't watch Game Day yesterday. So they're double dipping me for ESPN, basically. I'm allowing them to because I pay for extra content on ESPN Plus. I can still watch stuff. I can watch the 30 for 30s. I can watch whatever I want on ESPN Plus that isn't live. Could not watch Game Day. Couldn't watch any games. 20 games, 30 games across the board on ESPN Plus yesterday. Couldn't watch a one of them. So it's not going to do me any good to call Spectrum because that's good. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. One person, 20 people aren't going to make a difference. 1 million people aren't going to make a difference. I'm calling ESPN about my ESPN Plus package and tell them you can drop me or give me access. I'm not watching through Spectrum. I'm watching through an app, an independent app on my phone and on my computer. That's bullshit in the worst. Excuse my French. I've said shit 3 times now. I'm going to get kicked off the air. Man, I'm mad. I was so mad. And this happened right before the Utah-Florida game. Just before kickoff. Gone. Ugh. What do we got here? Oh, here. It used to be Billy and Carlos. You may have moved up in the ranking. It's a fluid thing. It's a competitive thing. Don't ever take offense. I enjoy this. One of the reasons I like this is I can't sit here and argue sports with my wife. She doesn't care. She likes to watch the games with me, but I can't get into arguments with her. But I like doing this. I like people with different opinions so that I can argue with them, tell them why they're wrong. Like I'm right. It's been a year and you still don't get Fox. So there you go. So I didn't get DirecTV when I moved. Oh, and Dish has the same dispute. So this was, I know I had it because of Mission Broadcast. Maybe Mission Broadcasting owns Dish and DirecTV because that's who disputes with, Mission Broadcasting, and I had DirecTV. So I could watch Fox games yesterday. I could watch FS1. I could watch CBS, but that's it. It's another 40 freaking games on ESPN Plus. The games on TV are one thing, and I get it. There's disputes, whatever. But I'm paying you $7 extra a month, not to anybody. I'm not paying it to Spectrum. I'm paying it directly to ESPN or Disney or whoever you want to say to use your app. And because you got a dispute with the TV provider that I use that I'm not watching it through on your app, you're not letting me watch the games? I'll start a freaking class action suit. To the moon, Spectrum, to the moon, right? Unbelievable. I had to do Duffy's last night because I don't have it here. Still no Fox and DirecTV. Amazing. It's probably over a year. Or maybe it's just a year. It might have happened just before football season started last year. You watched it. I wasn't allowed to watch it on ESPN Plus. Again, I'm guessing I'm blocked because my TV provider is Spectrum. Should not matter. I'm not watching. I'm watching it totally independent of my access to Spectrum. Totally independent. It's your app, ESPN. They're getting a phone call Tuesday. I'm not calling Spectrum. It won't do any good. Well, first of all, FuBu's missing a bunch of channels. They don't have Yes. YouTube doesn't have Yes. They don't mean no good. They don't have the Yes network. I'm not getting them. That's why I trialed YouTube. I trialed FuBu. I trialed Sling. None of them had the Yes network. No Yankee games for me. So no, I'm not moving. That's a prerequisite for me. Yeah, it's becoming a nasty word day, right? Oh, I was mad. My wife was like, calm down. I'm like, bullshit. Did it again. Oh, your bill went up $5? Well, that's because they're giving you less choices. So they made your life easier, Rick, because you don't have as many channels to choose from. They're streamlining your life, so they're charging you for that. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah, well, there you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Carl. And I don't know if you have, I don't know why you have the same issue. I think you said you had an issue with CBS, which we didn't have. So you've probably got, I don't know, maybe you got Comcast down there. I don't know who you have, Carlos, but or Charter. I'm not sure which you have. So I think there's different disputes with different providers. It's ridiculous. For Fox, right before the World Series, is that right? Is that when it went down? You're probably right. FuBu has Yes. That's something new then. I'll check out FuBu. I downloaded the app yesterday. I gave it a shot. There's other things it's got to have too, and I got to check out the price. I'm just so irritated with this. I'm tired of whatever. I mean, I should get rid of every provider and just go totally with that, but you got to have some provider. And that's what Carlos, I think, is saying. Get basic service and download a bunch of apps. Problem is my wife doesn't want to watch it that way. My wife needs her neat little guides, which, you know, we're old. We get used to our set in our ways. I've gotten very used to watching, and we watch a lot of stuff on different apps now anyway. So, you know, most of what we watch, we don't just go to Spectrum and watch down the app. Ricky Keith, stop by and smoke with you, and then we can watch professional pillow fights. I can't because they were on ESPN. I can't even watch the foot golf or the pillow fighting because, oh, man. You like the view better here? Check it out after the show. Or Drew, I don't know where Drew is. I don't know. We might have got into too much college football for Drew today. Or Drew might be busy with some other stuff. It's his anniversary weekend, I believe. Maybe they're out. Maybe they're away. So I'm not sure. Yeah. So I'm not sure. He's missed though, as always. We like Drew's comments for sure. Let me look at a little Major League. We got time for baseball at all today? I mean, gosh, here I am not talking baseball at all. What's going on in baseball? John Gonzalez talked about, and John's probably gone by now because I had to go on my rant about my TV. Exciting night finally for the Yankees. They're called up the kids. You know, we know Wells got brought up. We know Dominguez got brought up. They're gonna play. And Friday night they both started. Dominguez in center field and Wells at catcher. Question is going to be whether he stays at catcher. If he's defensively, he can improve. But they both get base hits in their first major league at bats. In fact, Dominguez goes deep, hits a home run in his first major league at bat. You know, there's not a long list of players that can say that, and he's also the youngest Yankee ever to hit a home run in his first at bat. So, congratulations to them. You know, I got to get ticked off too a little bit. I mean, one of the headlines on ESPN today is Acuna blasts Dodgers with hardest hit ball in 2023. Who cares how hard you hit the ball? Oh my God. All that matters is you hit a home run. I'm so tired of exit velocity nonsense, launch angle nonsense. Oh boy. Anyway, congratulations on the what was I going to say? The Braves being the first team to get the 90 wins. The Reds have had some struggles recently, and they've had a fourth pitcher test positive for COVID here just this week. I think it started with who did it start with? Was it not here? That's too funny. Brandon Williamson tested positive. He'll miss his start today. Hunter Green was a guy I was thinking of. He started. Then he was followed by Fernando Cruz and Ben Lively. So not a good time for the Reds to be without starting pitchers as they're trying to battle and stay in this wild card race. And we'll look at that in just a second. The Orioles claimed Lopez, who was pitching great for them last year before they traded him to the Twins. He was put on waivers and claimed by he found waivers by the Marlins and claimed by the Orioles to maybe strengthen an already very strong bullpen. Davey Jansen goes on the DL. Let's see if there's any major news. Some interesting stuff, by the way. Yankees waived Harrison Bader. The Reds picked him up. The Angels waived like everybody on their team, and a few guys were picked up. Hunter Renfroe goes to the Reds. Giolito, who had just been let go by or just been traded at the trade deadline from the White Sox, was let go and picked up, or put on waivers and picked up by, gosh, now it's skipping my mind who he got picked up by. I think it was it the Cubs? Who was it? Crap, I can't remember now. Isn't that weird? Now I can't remember. I will look at the standings and maybe it'll come to me when I see the teams. Let me, we got some comments here before I jump on to the standings in the American League and the National League. You got some time if you go a little over. Yeah, we'll probably go over. But a great day. No baseball. Thought the earth froze over. By the way, are there any games scheduled? I got to look. Here's our Major League Baseball. And again, I know Kenny doesn't want to see Major League Baseball, but Major League Baseball is known for playing on Memorial Day, Labor Day, give us day games. Yankees don't play a day game. Yankees don't even play on Labor Day. The Mets, I don't think, are playing on Labor Day. I don't see them on the schedule. And there's like only a handful of day games. Well, you got some 4:00 starts. I mean, baseball, this is where baseball loses their way. Same thing happened on Memorial Day. Same thing happens on the 4th of July. No, I'm going there, Rick. I'm going there. Don't worry. I'll get to your comment in a second. I'm only skipping it because, yeah, launch angle. Launch angle is important to spaceships, yes. Either ours or the aliens. But who cares? I mean, by the way, Hal Steinbrenner said he's reevaluating the whole analytics department because what we're doing doesn't work. And a lot of their approach to hitting is about exit velocity and launch angle, and it's I almost said it again. Yankees did play a bunch of games this year and didn't play them very well. So let's look quickly. I'm going to start because I'm going to start out west because I don't always do that. And I'm sure Alan's gone because I think Alan does a show. But the Rangers are imploding before our very eyes. Just when they started to suck me in and think I was really wrong about this team. They go 3-7 in their last 10. They got to be about, 10 and 25 over the last 35. They're not only lost the lead to the Mariners, they're in third place behind the Astros, and they are just a game and a half ahead of the Blue Jays for the last wild card spot. Said it before. This team might not be ready to win. The moves they made at the trade deadline aren't working. Scherzer hasn't pitched badly. I'm not sure about Montgomery. But all I know is they're losing games. So right now, I had predicted Astros Seattle would fight it out for the title. And as September begins, I'm right. And I still and the Astros have lost a couple in a row as well. The Mariners have been one of the hottest teams in baseball. Really recovered from a putrid start. I thought Scott Service might get fired. But it's been interesting. Since the trade deadline, the Rangers have gone south. Well, it started around the All-Star break. Since the trade deadline, they've gone south. The Angels what a horrendous effort as they think they're going to sign Ohtani. It's probably not going to happen. And the A's are ruining their chance to lose 121 games by going on a winning streak, because now they'll have to go one. I thought they had it in them to go 3 and something or 5 and something, I guess it was last week. Now they got to go 1. No, they'd have to lose. Yeah, to do it now, they'd have to lose all their games. They'd have to lose all their remaining games. I'd like to think they got it in them, but, even a blind squirrel's going to find what do you call those things? An acorn eventually. It's an acorn? Anyway, in the East, the Yankees playing better baseball. 6-4 in their last 10, won their last 2. They're even interesting to watch because I get to watch Peraza and Wells and Dominguez, the Martian. I get to see some of the kids and see at least some excitement, some energy on the field. Stanton, he's red hot now. It doesn't matter. Thank you, Giancarlo. But the Orioles continue to lead that division over the Rays by 2.5. Both are 7-3 in their last 10. Don't count the Rays out here yet, but the Orioles are good. Starting pitching still scares me a bit. Blue Jays trying to hang in there. As I said, a game and a half behind the Rangers. They have made up a game in the last couple days. Red Sox, I think they want to think they're in it. They're 5.5 out of the wild card. Not going to happen. Twins. Oh, the Guardians. That's who picked up Giolito. The Guardians, 4 games. Guardians. Team formerly known as the Indians. 5 games under 500. 4 games under 500. 5 games back of the Twins. Their only path to the playoffs is a division victory. They made a bunch of claims on waivers the other day. And it's going to be interesting to see. They think, and again, they're low risk. I think they got to pay these guys maybe $3 million for the remainder of the year. I think they're all free agents at the end of the year. So not a lot of risk. They've won 4 in a row since the waiver deadline. But they haven't made up any ground. Well, they have made up 2 games, I guess. A game. They made up a game. And they've got a 5% chance of making the playoffs. Tigers, White Sox, and Royals stink. The Royals and A's in a great battle for the worst record in baseball. So we talked about the West. Let's go out east. In the American League or the National League, the Braves. Boredom is their biggest enemy, and they're not bored. Acuna is the first player ever to go 30 home runs and 60 RBIs. He's your National League MVP. I would be certain of it right this minute. 9-1 in their last 10, 6 in a row. Get to 90 wins. Stretch the lead over to the Phillies to 16. This team has it all. This is the most balanced team in baseball. I said Friday on the MLB show. I've been saying it for weeks. I'm still sticking with my Astros, Braves, rematch from 2 years ago in the World Series. And I will take the Astros to Pete. The Astros have been able to hang in with injuries to a lot of their pitching staff, injuries to some of their best hitters, and off years by some of their best hitters. Pena really dropped off. Bregman has not had a great year. They missed Altuve for a huge part of the season, and yet they're a game behind the Mariners. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be dangerous. And I'm going to get into some of your comments if there's some after I go through this. The Marlins have won 3 in a row again. The Phillies are back on a losing streak. One of the most up and down teams in baseball. I don't give them much hope. The Mets have climbed out of the cellar by percentage points. I started to say the Marlins won 3 in a row back in a wild card race. We'll look at that in a second. The Cubs, who I keep saying made a huge mistake in the way they put this team together and then not unloading a lot of these guys at the trade deadline. It made me look bad for a while. Now they've lost a couple in a row. We'll see if they're on the other way. The Reds battling, as I said, picking up Harrison Bader and Renfroe, who will probably play a lot. Now they're battling COVID issues in their pitching staff. They have won their last couple of games. We'll look at the wild card race in a second. The Dodgers running away with the West. And again, as I said, maybe the Atlanta managers should be considered, but I think Dave Roberts has done the best job in baseball this year. The Dodgers have lost 3 in a row, but they're going to make the playoffs easily. The Giants still trying to hang in that wild card race. The Diamondbacks trying to hang in that wild card race. And the Padres have finally buried themselves. Again, if we look at the National League wild card race, you've got the Phillies with the top spot. The Cubs still in the second place, the second pick, 2 games ahead of both the Giants, the Diamondbacks, all three, the Diamondbacks, Giants, and Reds, all there. The Marlins only 1 game back. So you got a great race for the American League East. You've got maybe we'll see a fun race between the team formerly known as the Indians and the Twins in the Central. You got a great race in the AL West. Great race in the NL Central, maybe. But the wild card race in the National League is probably the best one. In the American League, you've really got, 3 teams fighting for 2 spots, I would say, in the Astros, Rangers, and Blue Jays. You can throw the Mariners in there, depending who wins the West, and drop the other team. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams still in play for 3 spots. And if I want to say the Phillies are in, I've got 5 teams in play for 2 spots in the National League. So fun times in baseball. We did talk about this. We did talk about that. What do we got going here? Why do they call him the Martian? I think it's because of his out-of-this-world talent, Rick. He's a 5-tool player. He can hit. He can hit with power. He can run the bases, steal bases. He's fast. He plays defense. So he does it all. And I think that's why they call him a Martian. He's not the only guy to have those tools, obviously, ever. But that's the reason. I'll look quick just to see if there's some other reason. I don't think he's from Mars. Just to be clear while I look for this, I do not think I'm going to find they called Dominguez the Martian because he's from Mars. If they do, I'll sign off quickly and Dominguez. It'd be very funny if that's what I found out, right? He's often known as Al Amarchino or the Martian. The nickname was first attributed to him by a scout in the Dominican. The scout was so captivated by his talent that he declared that Dominguez looked like he'd come from another world. And the moniker is stuck. So I guess basically what I just said. Great player. Great player. He's 20 years old. If I'm the Yankees, If I'm the Yankees, Dominguez is playing center field next year. I can build around this. I got Judge and Wright. I'm putting a 20-year-old, maybe 21 when the season starts, not sure. Dominguez in center. I'll figure out left field. Let me take a look at something. Peraza and Volpe both got to play. Let's see what else I want to look at here. I'm going to look at some of the kids here too. Maybe Everson Pereira might be the left fielder. I find a way to get rid of Stanton, eat the contract. I'll bring DJ back because DJ's valuable to have around. He hasn't had a great year again this year, but he's fairly cost effective, relatively speaking. And I bring him back. Glaber, I may move for a pitcher, and I let Peraza play second base. Or maybe I play Peraza at shortstop, move Volpe to shortstop because Peraza is a better defensive player at shortstop. I give Austin Wells a shot at the catchers to win the catcher's job in spring, assuming he gets his defensive prowess up a little bit. He's improved a lot this year. I find a way to get Rondon off this team. I hope Nestor gets healthy. I got to get some pitchers. Severino's pitched well recently, but now I'm scared. He pitched well the end of last year. Can't afford to have him implode for 3/4 of the year. I'm building around kids, Aaron Judge. Kids and Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole. That's what I'm building this team around. Bring him some smart free agents for a change. And develop some kids. Fun show today. Got to figure out my fantasy baseball. I might have to make some moves today too. It's funny. I use the phone all the time, Rick, and I find it very easy. But if you're not used to using it, probably not. I use my phone almost every day. It's harder for football for me. Well, actually, it's not. I figured out how to navigate it pretty good on the phone, I guess. But if wherever you're comfortable. But you have a great day. Thanks for the kudos and thanks for popping in. Take your blood pressure medicine. Have an old fashioned. I had some nice brandy by the fire last night. It was nice. It was nice. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thank you, everybody. John Gonzalez, Kenny, Billy, Anthony, CA. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks to the great Jim Biringer. If I missed somebody, I apologize. I know we talked a lot of college football today, but college football is going to become a big part of this show. Obviously, with the season started, probably won't do as much as we did today. But the NFL, we got to find more time to talk about, and we're going to have baseball for another 2 months as well. So, 2.5 months. We'll have some scheduling announcements for you guys coming up as I will be going on vacation. Probably going to miss a couple Fridays, a couple Sundays, but we'll try to get in those days for shorter versions of our show. But we'll do some stuff, and I'll keep you guys apprised of what it is. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Have a great remainder, of your Labor Day weekend. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talk Sunday. Stream of consciousness. See you all guys next Sunday, and I'll see you Wednesday with Jim Biringer for the college football.